welcome to the MNJ podcast, the very first episode of our business podcast, whereby we'll be giving you business news, business updates, and real life stories of entrepreneurs that are making it in Africa and some of the problems that are facing in Africa. But before we start, do us that small favor, like, subscribe, and comment in the comment section. Tell us what you think about African businesses and how we can thrive to make it in the world. Today, I'm joined by the managing servant of MNJ, Bostav, as I like to call him.
No, I love it as Taku. You know, these titles, they are so much deceiving, and I want to then see myself as a servant. So I'm actually a managing servant. I'm a servant to the people. I'm here to serve the people and make African businesses as timeless businesses.
Wow, that's very interesting. Nice to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Nice. So what's the vision of MNJ? What's the vision behind MNJ? What's driving it?
Oh, okay. Thank you. So the vision of MNJ is simple. We want to build timeless, sustainable businesses in Africa. We want to position this continent as a global hub of innovation, excellence, and growth. In simple and in short, we just want to build businesses that will exist beyond the existence of the founders, in such a way that all the businesses in Africa, they become generational businesses.
Wow. Such a strong vision.
Yeah.
I actually like it. But as you were mentioning the vision, I noticed that you are constantly repeating Africa. Why are we only focusing on Africa? Why not go global?
Yeah, considering the potential that Africa has, in terms of resources, there's no continent that has got resources as compared to Africa. There's no continent that has a lot of opportunities as compared to Africa. But you then get to see that we are still way behind all other continents. And along this journey, that's where we then get to see, okay, what exactly are we actually doing wrong? Where exactly are we missing it? Are we cursed as an economy? But then we saw that there are a lot of mistakes that are being done by African businesses that are making them die young, and they're not realizing their potential or their vision to become generational businesses. That's why we now want to focus on our continent to make sure that we catch up quickly with the other continents, or even get to surpass them, because we've got everything that we need as Africans.
Yes, Africa is full of the resources that
Sure.
you need to operate in any sector. Now, I understand that over the past decade of building timeless businesses, you've mentioned that there are a lot of challenges that are being faced by African businesses. What are some of these challenges that you have seen?
Okay, I'll start from the onset in terms of the foundations, how these businesses are founded. So you get to see that there is the issue where most companies, especially where we are being driven by mostly the informal sector, we think that probably that's going to be the easiest way to make quick money, where we are not really being regulated, and we then try to operate without proper documentation. Right. So the foundation, it's not only about legality, to say you are operating legally within the space that you are, but you're also looking in terms of credibility itself and growth, because there are a lot of opportunities that are out there which you cannot then get to really tap into, because you're operating illegally on the no papers that are there. So you get to see that in most cases, you end up just going for the small fish, and there's no growth that is going to really being realized by that business. And once you die, you are the business. And once you die with the business. So the first critical thing that I think where we need to shift our mindset is to look at the compliance side, to say initially have everyone properly registered, properly compliant with all the statutory boards that needs to be compliant with, not just for legality purposes, but also to be a credible business, as well as drive growth within your business.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. So maybe just a follow-up on that one. What are some of these bodies that one needs to register with after registering your company?
Okay, that's quite a broad question, because like we said, our vision, we are focusing mainly on Africa.
Okay, let's bring
So,
it down to Zimbabwe.
so you get to see that there are a lot of statutory boards, depending also with you're looking at the country that you'd want to set up, because we focus on almost every country here in Africa. But then bringing it back here home also, the question is still broad, but I'll try to answer it and do justice to your question. So you're actually looking in terms of the business setup itself. So you then get to start by acquiring company documents from the register of companies. So after you've actually acquired your company documents, you then, depending with the nature of the company or the type of company that you would have actually elected, or which you were advised to say this will be the best type of a company based on what you'd want to do. Then at the end of the registration of your company, one critical board that is there is actually ZIMRA, where you need then to be compliant in terms of the tax laws of the country, where you get a certificate to say indeed you're a compliant company that is also being recognized by the Revenue Authority of Zimbabwe. Then after that, you are also looking in terms of you as a company then also get to acquire proper bank accounts, to say you are then now separating personal bank accounts to actually the business account. So you need also to be having your company bank accounts open. And you also have other boards like your NASA, you also even have NEC, and there are a lot of things that you need to be, depending also with the type of business, because there are other special types of business. You're looking at your microfinance, you're also looking at even your pharmacies, you're looking also even in terms of security companies. They have other special requirements that are needed beyond this. So it's now an issue that you need then to get a business advisor who is then going to sit down with you and not just sell company documents to you and say these are your company documents. But that's one mistake also that most of these businesses are actually doing, that they just acquire company documents. Then what? So you need to have that one person or that one company that you're going to sit down with. They properly advise you, go with you, being your partner throughout the journey. I'm sure we'll actually have more startups being converted into timeless businesses.
Definitely, we need a lot of timeless businesses in
Sure.
Africa. Yeah, and there's something that I've seen that most of the African businesses, the reason why they are failing is because the owner, they lack financial discipline. Now, before you come in on that, let's just take a short break and then we definitely come back and tackle this question. Stay tuned.
Want to open a business in Zambia? Here is what you need to know. You have two options: a limited liability company offering 100% ownership with a Zambian resident director, or a foreign company allowing expansion while keeping your original structure with at least one director required. To register, reserve your business name with PACRA, submit your incorporation documents, register for tag with ZRA, and open a corporate bank account. Zambia is open for investment. Need assistance? Contact us and get started with M&J, building timeless businesses.
Welcome back to the M&J podcast, and today I'm with Takudzwa Chorowa, the managing servant for M&J
yes.
Africa, M&J Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
whereby we are discussing some of the major mistakes that are actually making businesses in Africa fail. So before the break, Taku, I mentioned the issue of financial discipline that is lacking in most of the entrepreneurs in Africa.
Yeah.
How has it made actually most of our businesses fall?
Okay, that's one critical aspect, even for the over 10 years that we've been in this business advisory business. It's one critical thing that we've seen that has made many businesses to collapse because of financial indiscipline from the founders or the owners or even the directors. So one critical thing that where we lack is separating ourselves from the business. So we treat ourselves as we are the business. So everything that is done within the business is centered on us, number one. And there's no separation in terms of finances. You actually have an entrepreneur who is still using the same bank account for personal transaction and company transaction. And you end up having confusion to say, is this really a corporate bank account or it's an individual bank account, where you actually get to, if you are to take the bank statement, some of the transactions that you get to see on that bank statement will be really suspicious. You get to see that there's the bigger house and the smaller house that are exchanging that same business card to carry out personal transactions. When I would want to then go out with friends, have some drinks, we are using the same bank account. So one critical aspect that you need to do now is to say, okay, fine, I myself as an entrepreneur, I want to take my business to the next level. The first thing is financial discipline, where you're telling yourself, even if there are hundreds of thousands of United States dollars in that safe box, they don't belong to me, but they belong to the company. Put yourself probably on the payroll to say, okay, fine, for me as the shareholder or the director rather, what should I be given? What am I entitled to on a monthly basis? What are my allowances? You create the capacity for the business to be paying you that, but you separate yourself to have that kind of financial discipline where you're going to say, even what the company is giving me as an allowance, what is it just giving me as a salary, is not going to be enough for this current month. Probably I've overspent my personal beyond my personal capacity. Even if there is money in the safe, I should tell myself, you know what, this money doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the company. So by so doing that, you then get to be creating cash reserves. And that's the foundation of growth for each and every business in terms of capacity expansion, even expanding in other markets. You need to be backed by that reserve. So number one, separate yourself from the business, put yourself on the payroll. Then secondly, you're looking at most businesses here in Africa, we then get to operate without budgetary controls.
All right.
Yes, decisions are done there and there. There's nothing that is going to beg us to say, yes, I've seen a new car that is now in the streets.
The Tesla.
Yes, exactly, Tesla. And without really thinking that, was this really in our plans? Do we have capacity right now to be doing such an investment or not? So without being backed by a proper structured and approved budget, people, they just rush to make those decisions which are going to make their businesses choke and collapse. So there's need to have that financial discipline, put in place budgetary controls, and indeed you create a foundation for expansion and growth within your company.
Well, such an insightful discussion we're having here today. So one point in time, I actually have a relative of mine, my uncle. I'm actually going to tell you a story that actually happened.
Yeah.
So he was owning a bottle store. Instead of employing relatives, rather, he actually took his wife's siblings, and then he made one the cashier, the other one was the manager.
Yeah.
So as the business was growing, they started demanding a lot of cash because they actually saw the money coming in. So there was no way you couldn't give them raises. That eventually led to the collapse of the business. I've actually seen that in most of the companies, there will be one particular surname.
Yeah.
The boss's surname will be dominating most of the departments.
Yeah.
Ranking higher in terms of our positions. How does that impact on most of our African businesses?
Thank you for such a question. No, it's actually interesting. It's not only in terms of the surname. So you get to realize that in most cases, even if they are not relatives, somehow, some way, you know how it is. You then get to see the type of people that are now being recruited, and you can actually have even a client who is then specifying to say, you know what, when you are recruiting for me, because we are also in the HR advisory side, when you are actually doing the talent acquisition for me, please, I want beautiful light-skinned ladies. And you then get to wonder, are we in the business of selling people, or would want people that are actually going to be delivering? So you then get to, if you dig deep, you can then see that there is a hidden motive that is there. Probably you are having the boss recruiting his side chicks, you're having the boss recruiting relatives. And in most cases now, if it so happened that there is the wife, there is the husband, and the wife is also recruiting her relatives, the husband is also, it becomes more like a competition. And in most cases, the decisions that are going to be made out of that are not really business decisions. We end up using emotional decisions because you're attached to this person. I'll give you one example. I've got one client of mine who was actually telling me, you know what, when I catch a relative of my wife doing something, when we want to take disciplinary measures, well, I'll be actually told, you know what, you should be understanding. He's actually going through a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Even after stealing or actually having a misconduct that can even affect the company. So it's always important when you are starting to say, you know, my mentor always tell me that if you cannot fire someone, don't hire them. So you should actually have a strict recruitment policy in place to say, how are we going to be recruiting? Because HR is one of the most important pillars for us in terms of building timeless businesses, because you can have a good sales strategy. If you do have the wrong people, definitely that strategy is not going to work. You can actually have a good operations, a good marketing strategy. As long as we have the wrong people, definitely that strategy is not going to work. So my advice to entrepreneurs, startups, even well-established, we should always look back in terms of what is our recruitment policy. And when we have recruited these people, do we have clear expectations laid down to say, what are your roles, where are you going to be starting, and where are you going to, because in most cases, African business, they do not have a structure to say who does what within an organization. So you end up people conflicting. You have even a director, he's also the buyer, he's also the accountant, he's also the salesperson. So there's need to create a proper structure that is going to support the goals and the vision that you have as an organization. And lastly, what I've actually seen in terms of the human resource, there's need for consistent training and development to say, let's invest in them, let's continuously align them to the strategy and to the vision of the company. And in most cases, you can recruit someone, but one thing for sure is, after recruiting, in most cases, the managers, the entrepreneurs, they do not know what to do with the employees. So there's need for you to put proper systems that are going to be governing and managing your employees. So HR is very critical. Thank you for bringing that.
Yeah, very true. Very, very, very true. Because actually most of our businesses are failing because of the human resources. Because actually, if you look at it, without the humans, they're actually no business.
Yes.
But thank you very much, Taku, for bringing out that up. But before we go, I know time is not on our side. You have to run for deals. You have to close meetings. What are some of the advices, maybe 2-3 advices that you can give to African business owners?
Okay. To my fellow Africans, the advice that I would give is, we have so much potential. And where we need to look at investing in terms of compliance first and structure. And if you are going to be looking at the foundation in terms of how our businesses are actually built, for example, please don't just look at just getting company documents, but have that partner who is going to really give you proper advice. I'll give you an example right now. We have got a company that is well known here in Zimbabwe and in Zambia as well. They're into logistics and energy. They've got some safe stations. But then, we then had to realize that they bought a shelf company, thinking that probably is the quickest way to get into business. But they just changed the directorship and never really got to change the shareholder or the shareholding structure of the business. So along the way, the person was the initial shareholder, realized that he was still part of the company documents, and he came through demanding a lot of money. And one thing that we just had to do, legally, he is the owner.
Yes.
and he's entitled to everything. We just had to negotiate with them to buy him out of the business, which actually costed the business a lot of money. So you need to really sit down, find that business partner who is going to work with you throughout the journey, making sure that you avoid those mistakes that are going to make your business collapse. And along the way, even when you have done the initial setup of your business, it's also important to remain compliant, continuous compliant, and financial discipline. Have the right people and put in place proper business systems that are going to run the business. Don't allow the business to be held hostage by yourself to say nothing moves if you're not there. Please put in place business systems that are going to govern the business. Even if you're there or you're not there, the business has to continue. Treat your business as a separate person.
Yes, a business has to be timeless. It
Exactly.
doesn't have to end when you pass away.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Taku, for joining me on this very first episode of the year of the MNJ podcast. I'm looking forward to having you again as you give us more of your knowledge.
My pleasure, and thank you so much, viewers.
Right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Now, before we go, just do us that little favor again. Subscribe to the podcast, like, share with other entrepreneurs that you might know who are doing the same things that we're talking about here on the MNJ podcast. And also remember to catch us again next week, same time, same station. See you.